Hey travelers, Mag here, ready to take on our final day here in Sydney. We're beginning things at the Korean War Memorial, and the objective for the day is relatively simple. I've got to make it to the airport. I have about 12 hours between now and when my flight leaves, so my ending time for the day is hard set. I'm beginning here in Surry Hills, and from here I'm going to be working my way southeast through the day toward Randwick. Once I hit Randwick, that's the last virtual I'll be targeting here in Sydney. I'll turn west from there and head into Kingsford. I imagine by the time I hit Kingsford, the clock will be run down and I will have to hightail it to the airport. I've got the time I have to work with, and I have a lot of geocaches in front of me. So one last opportunity to take you along with me and explore Sydney. Come on, let's go.
The final leg of the journey through Sydney begins at the Korean War Memorial in Moore Park. Dedicated in 2009, it is a tribute to the 17,000 Australian troops who served in the United Nations contingent during the Korean War. The memorial follows a curving path through 136 steel and bronze flowers in the shape of a taeguk, the symbol at the center of the flag of South Korea. 21 countries from the UN task force are honored on the stones.
A very busy spot, but not too busy to stop in and get our geocaching started off for the day.
From the Korean War Memorial on its northern tip, I begin to make my way along the west edge of the vast Moore Park, covering 378 acres. While not quite the oldest, that distinction goes to Hyde Park. It is one of the oldest parks in the country, having been established in 1866. It was named after Charles Moore, the then mayor of the Sydney City Council. Among its many other amenities, it is well known for its cricket grounds and its football stadium.
A lovely walk in the park to kick off my day, which is exactly why I started here. Saw it on the map, satellite imagery said this was going to be a big green open space, just in time to catch the sunrise over here and the fresh morning air. Now that my warm-up's done, it's time to really get into the city and make this thing happen.
Yesterday, coming out of Central Station, I made my way around the western side of Surry Hills. This morning, I'll be exploring its eastern side. It is a suburban area well known for its many restaurants, pubs, and bars. What brings me over though, beside grabbing a quick bite to eat for breakfast, is the local art. I completed the first half of an adventure lab focusing on street art last night, and this morning I'm coming back for the other half.
The problem with caching in the big cities, not in Japan of course, but in a lot of the other big cities, is you're going to find piles of trash like this. But the one thing here that's not trash is the cache. Got to make sure to get this in hand. Japan can do it. I know the other countries can get there as well.
The primary piece I came here to discover is titled What Bird Is That?, painted by artist Peter Day in 1981. It is an interesting mural painted on the building along the back of the Edgeley Reserve, making it feel like the trees stretch on for much further than they actually do. It's like a page pulled directly out of the Highlights magazine, painted onto the wall, hiding nearly 40 species of birds, 4 dogs, and a cat within its midst. It seemed to me that artwork had inspired many other creations in its immediate vicinity. Each time I turned down a new alley, I discovered even more artwork on the walls.
Now this is kind of smart. Most geocachers put their magnets on one side of the container, right? And so you got to make sure you stick that side to the magnetic surface, otherwise the geocache falls. Well, us finders, we don't always pay attention to those things and accidents happen. This one hangs precariously over a position that if this cache is dropped, it probably is not being retrieved. So this hider went the extra mile and did double-sided magnets on this container. That alleviates a lot of the concern of turning it the wrong way and increases the chance that it's not going to fall to a certain doom.
But the Adventure Lab stage is complete. I'm ready to head back toward Moore Park and continue my journey southward, but not before dropping into Eddie Ward Park for just a few minutes. It was the call of the playground beckoning me in for a closer look, but I was surprised to discover more than 50 species of plants and trees in this small park.
There's just something about seeing dogs playing in the park. No matter how many times I come across dogs out on the trails, they instantly make me smile, especially when they get to go off leash and run to their heart's content. Good job, guys. Go get them.
As I close in on Moore Park, I spot this planter in the middle of the intersection and find myself scratching my head. I can't help but wonder whose idea it was to use a Volkswagen that way.
It's pretty cool that this walking trail follows the entire edge of the park, and that there are lots of crossings to get across this busy roadway all along the way. And each of those crossings offers another opportunity to make a find. So when I come up to a bridge, like the one right over here, I know I'm closing in on my next target, which gives me a little bit of a break before I keep walking again.
And more than anything, walking is really the name of the game today. I'm going to be walking my way all the way from the Sydney Central Business District all the way to the airport. Unlike Japan, there are not convenience stores at just about every street corner, but if I pay close attention, every now and then I spot a place to pick up a cold drink.
Frankly, the only reason I'm still on my feet right now is because I am motivated and I want to find as many geocaches as I can and see as many places as I can in Australia before the clock runs down. But the fact of the matter is, I'm exhausted. More specifically, my feet are exhausted. I've walked the better part of 80 kilometers or so in the last 2 days, and I'm feeling every little bit of it now. I'm not gonna stop though, because I know once I get on that airplane, I'm gonna have a great many hours to be off my feet and let them finally cool down.
So I simply continue doing what I do best, putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward. When I finally reach the golf course along the southern edge of Moore Park, I hang a left and begin heading in toward Randwick. It provides an immediate change of scenery, moving out of Moore Park and onto the edge of the Fernley grounds.
This ground zero is a doozy. It's magnetic. And there are a million magnetic surfaces, made extra difficult by the fact that there's lots of creeping vines all over the place, choking everything out. It's important in these moments that you disregard the coordinates a little bit, especially since this one's off, and instead use your geosenses. My geosenses told me this is going to be it, so I focused most of my hunt here and was eventually, not overly quickly, but eventually rewarded with the find. Feels all the much better when you search that hard for it.
I realize that I have reached Randwick when just up ahead I spot the Royal Randwick Racecourse. Opened in 1833, this racecourse has a circumference greater than 2,200 meters. It gained its royal title when it was visited by Queen Elizabeth II in February of 1992.
It's been all micros all morning long, and that's not uncommon in a city environment like this. However, sometimes you can be surprised by something a little bit different and a little bit larger to be able to hide some swag in, even in the really urban environments. Very good hide, like this one.
It may have taken me half the day to do it, but with perseverance, I did finally reach my main objective for the day.
I've been walking for hours this morning, but I have finally made it to the site of this virtual, and for me it makes it worthwhile. This one takes place at the Ritz, and here we have the Australian Walk of Fame to celebrate Australian actors and films. You have to take 3 pictures to complete this virtual. One with whichever movie poster most appeals to you. For me, it's Sonic 3, simply because Jim Carrey is the bad guy, and that's enough for me. He's a fantastic actor. Requirement number 2 is to take a picture with one of the stars on the Walk of Fame, and number 3 is to take a picture with the marquee over the building. 3 pictures, easy requirement, virtual done. Back to walking.
The Australian Film Walk of Fame was installed in front of the Ritz in 2008, a joint venture between the Randwick City Council and the Australian Film Festival. The walk was established to honor Australian actors and actresses for their contributions to Australia cinema.
Well, look what we have here. It is a long-time friend that we haven't seen in quite a while. A guardrail hide. You know, when I see these one after another in rapid succession for the whole course of a day, they start to bug me. But seeing a one-off like this, it's so exciting.
Each find is victory, and each one brings me a little bit closer to the end of this adventure.
It has been such a different feel today than my last 2 days in Sydney. Those were the big downtown area days that were jam-packed with geocaches, adventure labs, tourist sites, people, and all that stuff. Coming out here into the suburbs, it's been a lot quieter today, which isn't a bad thing, and it gives me a different feel for Sydney, because going in and touring that downtown area would be a lot like going to Las Vegas, staying only on the Strip and then judging the city by it. It's an entirely different experience than getting out into the rest of the area surrounding it. I'm on my way now to the University of New South Wales, and I am excited for the chance to tour campus. There's a 5-stage adventure lab that will guide me around to different points. One traditional I think I can get, one traditional I don't think I'm going to get, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of stuff to see along the way. I think it's on break right now, which means I should have the campus to myself. Fingers crossed, but I guess I'm going to see just around the corner here.
The main campus of the University of New South Wales is here in Kensington, just outside of Randwick. The campus is essentially a small town unto itself, with 60,000 students and over 6,000 staff. It was established in 1949, but can trace its roots back to the Sydney Mechanic School of Arts, which was established in 1833, and the Sydney Technical College, which was established in 1878. The need for the more modern university rose out of the dire circumstances of World War II. The need for advancement in sciences and technologies became readily apparent.
I should probably pass this geocache by. It definitely looks like it's intended to be a challenge, but just can't do it. When something looks like it's more difficult to get to than the norm, it tends to intrigue me. And this one, well, I'm getting intrigued.
And the terrain rating was no joke. The further I got into this tunnel, the more I felt it squeezing me into the tight space. But I did find what I was seeking.
Look at that. This was an interesting place to get into. You gotta try and crawl through this tunnel. It gets really tight down there, by the way, which is where I had to leave my backpack. But if you're brave enough, you might just come up with a container. Well worthy of the journey forward. Look at this one. You know this one's getting a favorite point.
I can't help but to learn a little bit more about the university as I pursue each stage of the Adventure Lab across the campus. When it first opened its doors in March of 1948, it was quite a bit smaller, with only 46 students pursuing the programs in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, mining engineering, and electrical engineering. Obviously, it grew quite a bit since then, beginning with the passing of the New South Wales University of Technology Act in 1951. This provided the funding necessary from Parliament to be able to begin building the main campus here in Kensington. Gradually, the university transformed from a technology-based institution to a general university, first with the opening of the faculties of Arts and Medicine in 1960 and the Faculty of Law in 1971. Each area across the campus was necessary to visit in my attempt to complete the Adventure Lab.
There's a definite flavor of the day going on here. It is basically the same kind of container that I'm looking for at most ground zeros I show up to, and it appears the owner pre-made all of these and then decided on where to hide them after the fact, which is something as a cache hider I've done as well. So as we can see here, we've been pretty well consistently looking for magnetic tin containers covered in duct tape, tucked away just out of sight somewhere. And we'll go ahead and tuck this one back away out of sight for the next finder to come along and enjoy adding their name to the log as well.
The main campus is spread across 94 acres, which I had the distinct pleasure of being able to cross. It is divided into two geographical areas, the upper campus and the lower campus. It's actually fairly easy to tell which part of the campus you're on simply by whether you're up or down the stairs. There are two main sets of stairs that occur between the quadrangle and the Scientia building, both of which had my feet hurting. As I've been doing all day long though, I just continued to put one foot in front of the other.
That concludes the tour of the University of New South Wales. I was hoping to be able to at least complete that Adventure Lab, but alas, it was not meant to be. I was able to get to 4 of the 5 stages. The 5th stage, they had tree crews out cutting down trees right in front of the building I needed to get to, so I had to write that one off. It's just up the road here to Kingsford, doing pretty good on time, and making a lot of finds along the way.
My stopping place both for the day and this trip through Sydney is going to be in Kingsford, which was first known as South Kensington until it was renamed in 1936. It received its redesignation in honor of Australian aviator Sir Charles Kingsford Smith. Born in Brisbane, Kingsford grew up in Sydney, leaving school at 16 to become an engineering apprentice. He joined the Australian Army in 1915, eventually transferring into the Royal Flying Corps, where he would earn the Military Cross in 1917 after being shot down. After returning home from the war, he joined the West Australian Airways, where he would complete the first Trans-Pacific flight in 1928. It only seemed fitting that I would end my journey here, as I too am about to cross the Pacific on one leg of the flight he completed.
And there we have it, mission accomplished. 3 days in Sydney, a ton of geocaches found, and well over 100 kilometers hiked completely on foot, not to mention Australia's oldest. I began this morning out in Surry Hills, and all day long I've been walking through the suburbs. I made it through the University of New South Wales campus, which I thought was pretty cool, and I'm ending the day here in Kingsford. From here to head over to the airport, I've got about 3 miles left to cover on foot. And as Florida Crafters is fond of saying, my dogs are barking. But that's not going to stop me from covering this last distance and making the flight back to Oahu reset. Thank you guys for joining me on these 3 days through Sydney. I hope you guys have seen a few things you like, and I hope you've added a few geocaches to your must-do list. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and I'll see you out on the trails.